Welcome to the MBL Rookie Draft. Today we'll see teams select franchise players who will forever change the culture of the team while having immediate success. While some teams will weigh risk first reward, banking on a player's potential to develop. Some players will go on to be champions, Hall of Famers. Even though they were drafted in later rounds, their success won't be denied. You are witnessing the leader in full immersion gaming, the Madden Bomber League. So join our journey today. Go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com and take your chance to become a legend and forever be remembered like Lucky Jordan, Asa Sharar, because legends never die. And you're watching the MBL Network.
Oh, what an amazing night here on the MBL Network. It is the Season 34 MBL Rookie Draft live here at twitch.tv/MBL Network. Appreciate each and every one of you out there spending time with us this evening. It's a fun night. I'm OSU, your MBL Network Director. I've got the two commissioners on with me today. It is Bomber and Lip. And Bomber, let's start with you. First draft of the cycle. First draft of the players that are eligible for the MBL Players Hall of Fame this cycle. We got some new graphics up in the Madden 19 game, but it's the same old here in the MBL. Everybody's looking for that diamond in the rough.
Yeah, or if you're the first pick, you're just looking for the diamond. That's a diamond, and that's what we're going to get. I think first pick we got going. I don't want to play spoiler, but it's been all over Bleacher Report. Allen Rose looks like the guy. I'm excited to get this draft going. I mean, I don't have a pick till the 5th round, so I'm all in on everybody else's pick. I'm living vicariously through everybody in the first round right now, and I'm interested to see how Play a Day is gonna finish out.
Yeah.
He's got 3 picks in the first round. He's the MBL real-life draft guru. I want to see what he's going to be able to do with those 3 picks.
And Lip, this is just an unbelievable night here in the MBL Network. We see all of these teams go by. There's been, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Lip, this has been one of the most active trade seasons we've ever seen. Some changing the limits of players who got traded, so we've seen lots of picks moving around, especially not only in the first round where we usually see a lot, but especially in the 2nd through 7th rounds. How important is it for those teams to use those picks wisely, and how valuable are those late round picks?
Yeah, and that's a big thing that people looked at the rising of the trade limit as 2 different ways. They saw it as an opportunity to go out and grab some pieces that they needed, and then some other people saw this whole kind of limiting of certain positions. Everybody's got their own little opinion. Kind of the offensive line's the big one. We're going to see a big run on offensive line to start the night, I think. That made people think that draft picks are their value just shot through the roof, and that's why you saw a lot of trading for draft picks throughout this offseason. And offensive linemen went really fast throughout the season, and during this offseason, people tried to sell the house for offensive linemen, and nobody's budging. So it's going to be really tough to rebuild an offensive line. We're going to see a lot of them go tonight, and I'm really excited to see how this plays out for teams later in the draft that need offensive line.
If it's your first time joining us here on the MBL Rookie Draft, appreciate you tuning in. We're going to run through it. You'll see the draft on screen, these sweet new graphics. This is one of the most things I think everybody in the MBL was most excited about in the Madden 19 game. Updated draft graphics, so you'll see that very realistic stage. We'll get screenshots sent in from the MBL owners, so you'll be able to see, as players get picked, we'll be able to see those ratings, what these guys come out to look like. We'll be going for about an hour and a half, 2 hours here on the MBL Network, so buckle in. Should be a fun show. And let's get going underway. We've got the Miami Dolphins on the clock at number 1 overall. Bomber, you on bonus coverage got to cover the battle for the number 1 pick. This Dolphins team, safe to say they struggled this year. How important is it for them to hit on the number 1 overall pick and not pull, as you can see, JY Movie Guy, owner of the Miami Dolphins, not pull a paysinger and draft a bummer here with the first overall pick?
They got to go Allen Rose.
Oh, look at that. Look how nice that looks.
Oh yeah, that looks way better. That looks much better than it used to look back then. We get to see the picture of the guy. We get a little bit of imagery to what we've seen before. But I want to talk about this.
Feels like draft night.
Yeah, I know,
bonus
right?
coverage. Yeah, it does. I want to talk about the bonus coverage that I had to cover last year. You said I got to watch to see who got the number 1 pick. Yes, I had to watch through this. It was like watching one of those historical movies you watch like in 7th grade. It was Pricey versus the JY offense, the battle of, it felt like when Homer Simpson was a boxer and he was just taking shots to the face, but both of them were Homer Simpson. And it was just like, which one is going to fall first. But yeah, so first pick, I think it went Allen Rose.
And it was Allen Rose indeed. Again, as you can see scrolling along the bottom of the screen, fellas. If you are participating in this draft, you want to talk draft, give us a call, 330-408-5253. Love to get some of the owners in here to talk about those picks. As it will come to a surprise to both Bomber and Lip here on the show. Yeah, we got that. We got the mag already in. JY worked hard on this graphic. Allen Rose, I think everybody expected him to go number 1 overall. He is heading, as it says here, from cornfields to South Beach. Lip, how much better is this Dolphins team with Allen Rose at the helm?
I could be brutally honest here. This is one position that I don't think has a lot of value until you build around it. You need an offensive line, you need a defense, and you need some weapons. And I'm not too confident that Miami has a lot of those things. I worry that it's going to be bad for a quarterback to go into a situation where they don't have a lot around him, and I think that's what you got here. But he is a great player, and I think that he could be middle of the road to start. But like I said, I don't think there's a whole lot of talent on that roster that makes me feel comfortable with taking a quarterback number 1.
And again, folks, we will have screenshots being sent in, folks. If you are in the draft, if you're one of the MBL guys drafting, make sure you just take that screenshot with the Xbox, email it to maddenbomberleague@gmail.com. We don't want no phone pics. Bomber, I think one of the big questions come in. This is our first look here in Madden 19 with the new regression, and I think it's safe to say a lot of people were surprised at how it went. Not only how, I guess, strong it was. We saw some players take some big hits, but how varied the regression was. We saw dev traits getting added, dev traits getting taken off, something we didn't see a whole lot of in the last game. We saw players losing large chunks in very specific stat categories. We saw some offensive line losing 7, 8, 9 in pass block and run block. How surprised are you, I guess, your opinion on the new regression system and how that's going to shape how this draft goes?
I think it has a big deal. I mean, I had TJ Lang at offensive lineman. He lost 23 in passing. He still kept his pass power block pretty high. So they lose a little bit here or there, and they keep it in other stats. But great players, as they get older, they're still going to be good players at the end and still usable players. So that's the cool thing. But yes, youth is a big deal, and I think offensive line is like probably the most important position right now, because you have older linemen in the league right now that are going to be getting, obviously regressing, and then you have these young players you want to build up, and this is the draft. This is what you want to do. In previous Maddens, nobody really wants to take the non-sexy pick of an offensive lineman, but right now it's starting to become a staple of the top 10 picks because it's that valuable, just like it is in real life.
Certainly will be interesting to continue to watch this draft. If we've seen a couple linebackers go off, we saw left tackle go off. Lip, I guess here's the question that everybody's sort of getting in the chat. I want to hear what you guys think in the chat. How many offensive linemen do you think are we going to see go in the first round? And are we going to see a lot of reaches as we get towards the end of the first round?
I absolutely think that you've got a good chance to see 10 go in the first 18 or 20, I think. And definitely towards the late. Somebody said it in the chat a couple days ago. I have no idea who it was. I'm sorry to take this and not give you credit. I can't remember. But somebody said that late in the first round, you're going to see people reaching at second and third round linemen because it's a position of such value. You need those guys up front. We saw how important it is to have good pass blockers against good defenders, and it's just. There's not a lot in free agency. There's not a lot to trade for because people are holding on tight to those good offensive linemen. That people that are projected in the second and third round are going to go a lot earlier than expected.
Bomber, I don't know if you can see this. This is just on the fly, but I don't see a way with the I love the new graphics. Is there a way to see who's been picked first, or is it just a rolling ticker?
You mean at the top?
I can't see who went number 1.
Yeah, I wonder if I go to view draft board and
how
would we do it before?
Before it was just on the screen.
That's right. It was on the screen and you could go up.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can hit the left stick down or something.
Yeah, I've been hitting buttons, seeing if anything will work. But it sort of looks like we've lost the. You can't see who has gone in the picks beforehand, which is kind of a loss. I love the new graphics, but I wish you could scroll along the top. I went to view draft board drafted, and it's only who you have drafted, so that's disappointing. Well, we've already seen three.
Definitely an oversight.
Yeah, 3 linemen go off the board here by pick number 8. We saw the Redskins, the most recent pick. They do give you the overall, though, on the screen, by the way, which is kind of
that's really cool. And the position and what college you went to. That's really cool. But, yeah, I wish I could use the right stick and kind of maneuver at the top on that little ticker up there.
Stories. News stories? Yeah, I get, like, we can technically see some of that. Although, in fairness, one of those says, Jonathan Coachman says, playoffs are a long shot for the Texans, but a solid left tackle gives them a puncher's chance. That's not the information I'm looking for.
So who did Playa take with the 3rd pick?
Transactions, I guess, as well. I believe he went with Ryshawn Hunter. Yes. Yeah, it's under transactions. Yeah. It's now under transactions. It's good to know. I'll keep an eye on that one. You don't have to keep that on the bummer, but that's good to know. Yeah. So safe to say that Ryshawn Hunter, the left outside linebacker for the Eagles, he goes at number 3, which I think a lot of people thought he had a chance to go at number 2. Playa goes with the free safety Moses Hood at number 2. So safe to say this will be the greatest player in the history of the NBL?
Well, see, here's the thing. A lot of people were talking about Hunter, and I think, and I agreed with this, that I think that he was probably the best talent. The wide receivers, I think, are down a little bit this year. Offensive linemen, there's a lot of talent there, but nobody really stands out. But Hunter, outside linebacker, was a huge talent. And
he doesn't take him.
But that's the thing. If Playa passed on him, we were all wrong, okay? If you thought Hunter was the best talent outside of quarterback, you were definitely wrong. And for Playa to take a safety with the number 2 pick, I mean, that's saying something about this guy. So
I got insider information. I got insider information. I talked to Playa less than 48 hours ago, and Hunter was 1A on the board with this Moses safety as 1B. Something changed in the last 48 hours, and maybe he calls in during the time and can tell us what he liked differently about this safety, but Hunter was the guy. So, I don't know if that necessarily is the angle in which Hunter, there was some deficiency. I just think maybe he's thinking, I need a playmaker in the sky, being able to come from the secondary and make those coverage plays as well. I don't know. Maybe he felt the need at safety was more. That's definitely a question we need to ask, but I know Hunter was right there in the mix, and he really liked this kid. He said that's where he was looking at going, outside linebacker with Hunter.
Okay, I would like to to everybody who is in the MBL, if you're sending screenshots, I'm not going to call anybody out, but JY just did this. When you send me the screenshot, please click over to the ratings tab, because all you've done is show me the front page, which we all know the overall. JY, I love the picture of Allen Rose, but I need the ratings. So just if you're going to take the screenshot, you got to scroll over to the rating side, because we can't see them on the front screen. All you see is the overalls. But Allen Rose looks like he's going to be a pretty good quarterback. As we are moving through the first round, we'll be with you again for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We'll see how we roll as we get through this NBL Season 34 rookie draft. Let's go back to the topic of regression. We saw a offensive lineman, I think, taking one of the bigger hits. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Here's been my observation. I want to see if you agree with me. I think what we are seeing is, as linemen get older, we're seeing that downtick in overall. We're seeing taking some big hits in the ratings categories. And what you're seeing is, unlike Madden 18, where a lot of people had 3 or 4 80-plus overall offensive linemen, I think as we get through the cycle, you're going to be seeing a lot more of the 70s playing than the 80s, and it's going to require you to have a lot more depth and develop those offensive linemen more maybe in past games.
Yeah, and as I'm sitting here kind of thinking about what you're saying, I mean, it almost seems like it lines up with, like, if you think about all of the teams in the NFL, and if you try to think of good offensive linemen, you might be able to name, the good one, or, maybe a good team has 2. You don't really know all the offensive linemen in the league. And maybe that's kind of where this is heading, that, like, there's not a lot of great offensive linemen. So, the ones that exist, they're few and far between. And maybe, that's kind of a thing that is, coming to truth in the game, which is kind of cool. I like it. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but it kind of seems like it. But another thing is, I think that a lot of the better offensive linemen are in that 26, 27, 28 range, and there's a lot of good ones later, in their 30s too. So whenever they take that hit in regression, it hits them hard because the good ones are older. You know what I mean? Like the really dominant wide receivers are usually younger. I mean, AB's 30, but you've got tons of great wide receivers that are younger. So you just don't see it as much. But it really rocked offensive linemen, and that's kind of what we talked about with how many linemen are going to be picked. It's going to be a lot, and people holding on to their linemen. So I think it's really cool if the things that I just kind of talked about are true. And it seems to line up like that, because at first I thought regression was like really overpowered, but it kind of seems like it's trying to balance the game out to what the real league kind of looks like, and we're only going to get to see how that works out moving forward.
Yeah, and I want to interject. Let me interject something here about offensive linemen. Lip, we've been doing this for over 5 years now. How many times in Madden in previous cycles have we seen where someone had to take a lineman in the top 5 pick? Nobody wanted to do that. Nobody was interested in that. I think it went from nobody really wanted to take any in the first round, maybe late first round. Maybe someone was crazy early, but for the most part, it was late first round. Then it slowly moved to like middle first round. You started seeing linemen start to go. Now you're seeing them really early, as you do in real life. You're seeing linemen becoming an integral part of this draft early on, and I love it because then it's creating depth in positions that didn't always have depth in Madden, because we used to be able to just build our offensive line through just playing well, and next thing you know, everybody had 90 offensive linemen. Yeah. Now you're seeing that parity, and it's really creating it where, man, I got a good line, but if I had this guy, he's going to be a star on my line. He's going to take it to the next level, and then you have a reason to draft them early in the draft.
Yeah, and the last thing about linemen here before OSU takes us somewhere else, the guys that traded offensive linemen early on in the season, right after preseason started, the season's kind of got a couple weeks in, and the offensive lineman moved. I'm wondering if any of those guys are wishing that they would have held on to some of those linemen. I think Morgan Moses, I'm not sure about the first name, but last name Moses, I think Train traded for him. I think he was a Redskin. I'm not sure. But Moses was a really good offensive lineman, and then offensive linemen were being traded, no problem, and then regression hit, free agency hit, and now you can't talk to anyone about linemen. People literally have it in their group me names. I'm not trading offensive linemen because they are not moving, and that's how valuable they've become. And to your point, it's really cool to see that over the last couple of years, how they've really moved up to the draft to where now people want to move up to take a lineman.
Yeah, I'll say, because again, a lot of decisions that were made in, for example, early cuts in preseason, and then as you get after the season, cuts for cap space as you attack in free agency. There were a lot of, question marks as to who's going to be out there. And so you saw some big runs on offensive linemen who were 73, 74 overall guys, but because the game has really taken its toll on linemen, and so some of these people who maybe didn't think they could get linemen in the draft really had to go after some guys who in past Maddens wouldn't have really gotten attention. You would have seen these guys being able to be picked up in free agency once the season started on one-year contracts. Let's get to some of the screenshots we got coming in, starting with, by the way, JY sent me the correct email with the subject line, suck at OSU, so I think that's appropriate. It's tough but fair, JY. I appreciate that. Let's take a look at the number one overall pick.
Clap back at you?
Clap back. It's Allen Rose, 79 overall. He is superstar dev. 91 throw power, 80 D-pack, 89 mid, 90 short.
86 mid.
86 mid, 90 short. 78 awareness, which is something, Bomber, we've said for years. Awareness out of the draft, we usually didn't see a ton of, but with the new progression system, you're seeing these guys actually coming out with high awareness because you don't get to just put a bunch of XP
punch into awareness for cheap. Yeah, you look at this guy. He's about, I'm trying to compare it to last year's quarterback class. He's where Rosen is now. I think Allen Rose is 1 year ahead of kind of the game. This is a big-time quarterback. We're looking at him. What was his development?
He's superstar.
Superstar development, and he's at the same accuracies that Rosen, the quarterback for the Cardinals, is at now. And I think somewhere around similar to Lamar Jackson as well. Obviously, Baker Mayfield is much higher than everyone. But, man, I think as a first overall pick, he's starting kind of a year ahead of everyone. He's got really great attributes. Liv, what do you think? 90 short, 86 medium, 80 deep, 91 throw power, 83 play action. What do you think about
78 awareness, which I think is important.
Yeah. I think that's going to be big. And with that 90 short start now, you've got to start out with throwing short. And that sounds ridiculous, but you can't just throw the ball 10, 15, 20 yards down the field all the time. Use this guy's strength, and it's coming right out of college here. It's that short accuracy at 90, and even the mid is pretty good at 86. I think he has a lot of talent here. So the only concern, and this isn't me going after anybody, I'm just asking a question. I wonder if we're going to see some of these superstar trait quarterbacks fall if they have bad seasons. I'm not sure what happened with this past season, but we know that people drop development rates. So drafting a guy that's got superstar talent or superstar dev, in a couple of years he might be down to quit. And that's going to be interesting to watch moving forward. I think that's a pretty cool thing.
I posted something in the chat, Lip. John just sent us a DM about how the development actually works. And there might be a little bit of, issues maybe in that system, but that's pretty much how he said is set in stone on how people develop. I sent it to OSU as well.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, so it really gives you some insight into how people go up and down. But yeah, I'm absolutely with you, Lip. This is a guy, if he's not driving the ball down the field and getting the ratings that he needs to get to, he could be star next year and then quick the next year after that. So Allen Rose, he's got to make up a lot of ground. Now, he's got to be your feature player now in practice, and you got to get those accuracies up, because even if the development drops down, he's still a young player. But if you can get him good in those first 2 years that he's at least going to be superstar and star, there's still benefit to that, even if you're not driving the ball deep down the field. You know what I'm trying to say here, Lip? He can still develop this guy the first 2 years, even if he loses it, because starting at superstar, you're going to get that extra 300 per week right off the bat, plus whatever you do as far as your team training.
I've got it up on the screen here. It might be a little tough to read, but Bomber, the basic sentiment is what you see are the positions on the left side and what stats go into your into the development. So at the end of the day, like a quarterback, it's based on pass yards and passing touchdowns, and it's based on your rank in the league in that season. So a quarterback is in the top 6 is going to be superstar, is going to be on path for superstar development, whereas somebody who is in the bottom 18 to 32,
that's so much better.
Normal.
It used to be a hard number. You remember that, Lip? And
like receivers would have to get 100 receptions, and we play 6-minute quarters. That's not going to happen. Like, that's happened once in MBL, I think.
It's interesting to look at. I mean, again,
and if you look at corners, this explains it, Lip. So this is where our issue with
deflections.
Exactly. Slay had a lot more deflections recorded in the game versus Ramsey. Even though Ramsey, because I messaged John, I said, look at Ramsey's stats compared to Slay. Slay went up a development, and I didn't understand why when he had similar stats to Ramsey and more interceptions. I think Slay had 1 pick last year. I said, how did he go to superstar? And he said, well, here's how it breaks down. I mean, this is what we decided was the most valuable, because if you really do look at interceptions outside of Madden in real life, even though 1 I think is extremely low, but 4, like what Ramsey had, isn't necessarily a bad year, right? 4 picks ain't bad. If you have deflections and you know what I mean? They're not targeting you as much. 4 to 6 to 7 isn't necessarily a horrible year for DB at all. But in Madden, for us, we'd see 4 and we think that's a little low for Jalen Ramsey. Expect him to have 8 or 9, right? Mm-hmm. But he dropped down and Slay went up. So I asked about it, and that was a response I got.
It'll just be it's interesting. Again, it will be interesting to see how these players look as we get throughout the cycle, because there are things about it I really like. There are things about it that concern me. I'll be honest. You look at putting a lot of emphasis on individual players, but on individual stats per se. It makes sense, like logically, why that would increase or decrease your development. But it surprised me there's not a team aspect in this. And I'll just speak from personal experience, because frankly I don't know how anybody else's teams. But my Falcons team was top 5 defense in every category, and 8 of my 11 starters lost dev trait because there was no one superstar. Nobody had a huge stat season. They played well as a group and did a great job. But at the end of the day, there's no team aspect in it. And I'll be interested, Byron, I'd be interested to see if in future iterations, in future games, we see a team aspect in it, because there are units that are just good. Guys play well with their unit while they may not put up big individual numbers.
Well, I could see individual numbers being flawed in the sense if you have a defensive line that gets to the quarterback a lot, he's getting sacked, so you're getting less opportunities in the backfield. Those could have impacts on individual stats, essentially down the field, right? So if you're getting a defense that's sending a lot of heat, getting to the quarterback, and it's essentially leaving a cornerback in an area in which he's not getting targeted, and they're not really looking to drive the ball down the field because the defense is coming fast and furious, it does kind of change the production that a cornerback or a safety could potentially have in a defense that maybe is more bend don't break, and they're just looking for you to drive the ball down the field, and then they're going to make their plays. So there definitely could be something a little smarter in the future here in Madden, especially in development.
Lip here, I'll give you the best example. Lip being a Steelers fan, a guy like Troy Polamalu, who was an absolute dominant safety. There were many years where his stats didn't look impressive because it turned out quarterbacks just didn't throw at him. He literally took away half the field and they would attack the other half. So he went from some very out-of-this-world stats. The next year, he only had, I think, 4 interceptions on the year, and his tackle numbers were way down because they started attacking the other side. That didn't mean Troy Polamalu wasn't a good player. It actually meant he was a really good player. So I wonder where maybe team aspect comes into it if we may see that in future iterations.
Yeah. It's a good point. My only concern is there's a lot of I've noticed sometimes there's a lot of teams that have high ranking just because you have a high ranking offense or defense doesn't mean that they're good. Like you could be on offense and run the ball and be on defense a lot less than somebody else, but still let up, losses. It's difficult what I'm trying to say. So I'm not sure how they would do that. But
the numbers can lie. The numbers can lie. You can say you have a good defense when you don't. Like, you could have a high-scoring offense. You could be a top 10 scoring offense, but your defense could also be forcing a lot of those touchdowns. Here's a
good example. If you look at a team that's a pass-heavy team like myself, I throw a lot. I don't run the ball very well or much. So defenses are going to have more defensive situations in which I could give up yards because the clock wasn't running on my offensive possessions, okay? So there's more yards to be gained against me. So if we're looking at yards, my defense might appear to they give up a lot of yards, but then you look at points allowed and it could be really different. So I think also play style plays into it at all, but I think they definitely could have a smarter progression system in the future. I mean, obviously, there could be ways to kind of say, hey, how many catches has this guy allowed?
Exactly. That's something, I was just going to jump in and say you could make that deflections thing actually keep track a lot better than it does. There's certain things that I think you could implement like that could help that. You know how, like you said, it's based on like how that chart's based on certain things. It's not that hard number anymore. You could do something like that for defense. Just
I'm glad they took interceptions off, though, as far as being like the cut, because that's kind of like a weird thing to kind of just judge somebody's overall performance on. Because remember, it used to be cornerbacks had to get 7 picks, and it's like, man, he had like 5 picks, but they didn't target him, and when they did, he was getting deflections. I think picks are all additional, but I think deflections and I think targets at the cornerback need to be there as well, especially targets to wide receivers too. So how are we going to value a wide receiver dev trait, right? So let's say OSU. There's somebody that gets 80 targets, right, and he catches 50 balls or 40 balls. That's not really that good.
Right.
So how do we value that? Drops need to be added into wide receivers as well. You can just target the heck out of someone and get a number, right, to try to be in that top 5, but then it's not necessarily natural or even true.
No, I just think it's interesting to look at. It's the first year of this new system, so there's going to be tweaking. I think it's interesting. Lip, to your point of the numbers can lie, I don't remember what team it was, but I remember in I believe it was Madden 17. One of the poor teams in the league had I think it was a top 8 yardage defense. Because they turned the ball over so much in their own territory, everybody was always working with a short field. So they didn't give up a ton of yards.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they were always getting the ball at the 30-yard line.
Yes,
so the yardage defense.
But the defense that allowed points probably at an insanely high clip, where you're like, they're only giving up 150 yards passing a game, which puts them like second in the league, but they give up 28 points per game, or 30 points per game. You're like, how does that make sense? Well, that's how.
And if you put too much emphasis on the team, because Bomb made this point to me before the draft. If you put too much emphasis on the team stats, it penalizes the teams who are at the bottom of the league. You may have star players on bad teams who don't deserve to lose dev traits. I just think it's a balancing act. It seems right now, in my opinion, a little punitive on the good teams who don't have maybe star players who have, 32 sacks on the year. Like, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see as we go forward. As we're going through, we're at pick number 25 here. Let's take a look at some more screenshots. as they are flying in. Let's take a look at Paul Eugene from the San Francisco 49ers. Strong safety.
Becca with the nice pick, huh?
Yeah, I'm going with the strong safety here. Interesting to see safeties. We had a big run on safeties. But something we haven't seen in past years. Safeties going off the board high. Safeties used to be one of the easiest ones to pick up in the 3rd or 4th round because you could develop them so well. 84 speed, 74 zone, 82 tackle, 79 pursuit, 86 acceleration. So 84, 86 speed and acceleration. 83 hit power, 82 tackle. This sure seems like a guy, Bomber, who wants to be up in the box and help and stop the run for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, so where was he drafted at exactly?
The 49ers were... I think he sent it in his email. Number 8.
All right, 8th pick in the draft. What was his size and weight? I mean, I got to know these things because I'm seeing some big-time deficiencies in this guy as far as not saying he can't be a good player, but I don't see agility on this thing, so I have to go down to secondary attributes for me to see it. 84 speed, 86 excel lip. Unless the guy's 6'4", I'm kind of questioning, that athleticism as being top 10 superior for safety. But Lip, I'll tell you this, having a bad safety, and I'd also want to know his age, having a bad safety can really destroy a defense quickly. It's way more realistic. I think safety this year, Lip, has gotten a big-time boost in how valuable they are to your team. You could draft the safety in the 5th round, but there's going to be a ton of growing pains.
Before Lip answers that, a note to everybody: send both screens, send the front screen and the rating screen. We need both of them because apparently they're not on the vitals aren't on the second screen. Anyway, Lip, your answer.
Yeah, so I think the safety plays a big role in it, and it's getting better each and every year. And I don't know. I've always been against taking safeties in the 1st round because we all know the Jawara Forney story. Guy was taken in the 4th round, I think, and he was taken with another guy in the 5th. And it was just kind of like best player, go out, see who can play. And, whoever does the best gets the starting job. And then he just blew up and ended up becoming an insane 99 overall kind of guy. But safety plays a lot different this year, so that stance could be old-fashioned. And if you get an elite safety,
I think it is, Lip, because I got a guy.
It could change the game.
Go look at the who's the guy I got? Not Tracy Porter. I have a guy on my team who was a rookie last year, and he's got 89 speed, 92 excel, really high agility, and he's 6'2", Lip. So that automatically checks a lot of boxes, right? But he has no awareness and no play recognition. His zone coverage isn't bad, but his lack of recognition and awareness. He is just a liability to the point where it's like he gives up so many big plays. I get people in 3rd and longs, and he's just not there. And I couldn't play him. In previous Maddens, I could kind of deal with his growing pains because they weren't as bad as they are now. It just seems like safety play is really a big difference between having a great defense in coverage to a mediocre defense, especially in zone coverage.
Let's take a look at one of the offensive linemen who went off the board early. Offensive lineman, big talk so far today. Let's go to the number 6 overall pick. And the Los Angeles Chargers. They went with Najee Lacey, left tackle, 81 overall, 89 strength, 81 run, 80 pass block. You see the pass block broken down. He's got an 87-84 pass block finesse, run block finesse. So this is an agile guy, 81 impact block. You saw him go off the board. This was pick number 6.
21 years old too, Lip.
Bomber, I'm looking through some of these screenshots. We'll get to more of them. We're seeing in a lot of these, as we've seen them also pop up, also your controller's disconnected, fun fact. We're seeing as a lot of these players pop up, we're seeing more and more 80, 81, 82, 83 overalls, where in past Maddens, you'd see 70. Finding somebody over 80 in the draft in past Madden was magical, where most of them, the best players were 78, 79, and below. This game with awareness and with the new progression system, you're seeing these guys coming out of the draft really in the low 80s, which is a huge asset.
Especially top 10. These guys are day one ready. Lip, are you looking at this Najee Lacey guy?
I do see him. I'm also making my pick.
Oh, okay.
Don't mess up.
Well, sorry, man. Jeez. 89 strength, 81 run, 80 pass, 78 run block power, 84 run block finesse. I mean, this kid Lacey is a beast. And then I go look at his age. He's 21 years old. He's not necessarily a scheme fit. I mean, he's obviously got power blocking there. The agile is for zone running, right? This guy would be a perfect zone running left tackle. Hopefully, he can get his scheme to fit, and then he can get some more XP on him. But man, superstar development. This guy looks like a beast.
All
this
right,
guy,
yeah, you can't see it. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and it's gonna be sort of a loaded question because it's obvious that the number's weird. But if you had to guess, we're at pick number 30 right now, with Lip down to seconds to go, and including Lip's pick, who he goes with Trevor Knapp, the wide receiver out of Hawaii. How many quarterbacks and wide receivers, so the skill position players, have gone in the first round?
Cornerback, wide receiver?
Yes.
Oh, man. It's probably a crazy low number, sadly, which is a big change from previous Maddens, which is much more probably to real life here. I'm going to say 4?
5.
Which is insanely low.
Which, by the way, it's 3 cornerbacks and 2 wide receivers in the first round. That is unheard of, and that just shows the change in the game.
Yeah, Lip, talk about it. Remember that year we had all those cornerbacks go? How many was it in a row when you were looking for a cornerback?
Oh, Lord.
How many
I want to say it was 8.
It was like 8 in a row went off the board, and literally Lip was like, this is the year I'm going to get a cornerback. It's going to drop to me. And 8 went in a row. I believe that happened, right? It was you, right?
Yeah, I think it was 8.
Yeah, it was the craziest thing. And by like the 18th pick, they were all gone. Cornerbacks were like arguably the most important position defensively. I think Gubb kind of changed the mindset in MBL, and people started looking at linebackers a lot better because he had such a great linebacker core. He could stay in base defense. But man, cornerbacks were like and now I'm starting to lean in. Lip hasn't experienced this yet, or at least isn't thinking where as far as I'm at now. I think safeties have like a little bit more value than we've ever given them before, and then also linemen are just they're on the trend. They've been trending up for Lip. How long do you think linemen have been kind of trending up in Madden? There's like a third year in a row in which they've just their value just continues to rise.
Yeah, it's last year it kind of started to creep up, and then this year I think it blindsided a lot of people. Like I said, with the trades early on in the season, it really snuck up on people, and then regression was like a big surprise, a big shock. And now it's here, and the offensive line is going way earlier than ever before, and corners are falling, and what's going on? It's literally flipped MBL upside down, which is really cool because it's a big risk to put all of your confidence in a guy on the outside to defend guys like OBJ and Antonio Brown. You know, it's a lot easier to pick a guy who can kind of work in. Maybe he's not a good left tackle. Maybe he'll be a good center, a good right guard. You know, and it's here, and it's a real deal. And I think the Cowboys are. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. But the Cowboys have a guy, Connor. He's a guard, I think, and everybody wanted him. He was not being traded.
He would not trade it. It was a little stingy with that offensive line. I think we should boot him. I think that's fair. As we're heading into the second round, just to let you guys know, but no, phone lines are now open. So if you want to talk the draft, give us a call. I swear I'm watching it. 330-408-5253 as we are heading in to round number 2 here of the MBL season 34. Season 34. That's nuts to say. Season 34 rookie draft. Let's take a look at another screenshot. This one, Jamie really wanted us to look at his pick. Going with Arion Winters, the right guard, 78 overall. We've got a call coming in actually. So let's see who we got going on here. As it. Oh, I had to give it access to my microphone. You are on the air with the MBL Network. Who we got on the line?
This is Timbo. What's going on, man?
Timbo, our Bleacher Report insider, on the phone with us. Timbo, a great night here on the MBL Network. What you got? What do you want to talk about?
Just talking about everyone's been, touching in on how many offensive linemen are going to go in this draft. I think that was a big focus for a lot of teams around the league. Also, seeing Moses go number 2 with Play. Play taking him early, as you guys said. He's probably the greatest player at his position to come into the league. So,
yeah.
I don't know, just been enjoying you guys so far tonight, and just here to talk a little bit with you all.
Appreciate it, Timbo. Moses, of course, going off at number 2. I think everybody's expecting him to be great. Here's my question for you from the Pittsburgh Steelers camp. How'd the first round go for you?
Well, we took Marshall Dalton, running back out of Florida State. We took him around pick 12. What was important important for us was hopefully to have a lineman slide back. There was one particular one that we were eyeing out of Penn State. He went a little bit earlier, so we took best player available. And at that point, with everything going on with Le'Veon, injuries last year, and he's still in the franchise tag. We're not 100% on re-signing him, so bringing in a young guy to see what he can do, and hopefully he could be the bell cow moving forward if we need to move forward.
Yeah, let's show you that halfback the Steelers did take, Marshall Darden, 91 speed, 82 ball carrier vision, 86 carrying. Last question for you, Tim, before I let you go. What are you guys looking in from the Bleacher Report team? Looking forward to this season. What storylines are you looking at, and what teams are you interested to see how they do tonight?
One thing you guys need to look out for is same name, new face. Or new location, I should say. We're looking at, big names that moved to different franchises and how they're planning out in the new locations. We're going to be focusing on that. We're going to be looking back at some of the predictions in season 1, see how they turned out. And please look out for the new predictions coming out later this week. With everything moving forward to season 34, you would definitely want to tune in to see what my insider guys are looking at and what big stories are coming in as the new season begins.
I appreciate you hopping on, Timbo. You'll be hearing a lot from Timbo and the Bleacher Report team throughout the year here on the MBL Network. Timbo, have a fun draft night, and thanks for calling in.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Bomber, the Steelers team going with running back Le'Veon question marks, and they go with halfback early in the draft, something we haven't seen in past years.
For a second, I thought you were saying the halfback that they drafted name was Le'Veon, and then the last name couldn't have been question marks. So I think that's a very I understand the situation. Le'Veon Bell is injury prone, and he's shown to be injury prone over many cycles in Madden, and they look to get younger. I mean, they're moving on from Big Ben. They're playing Mason Rudolph. A lot of changes in Pittsburgh. When what?
When will Ben be a free agent?
I said they're moving on from within the organization.
Can we trade for him?
Yes, only commissioners though.
I'll put the call in right now. Get him back on the phone for me.
I'm making my pick.
I like the move. I like the move a lot because here's the thing. I think that there was a lot of halfbacks in this draft. There was probably a handful of them that could be really good picks because nobody's really looking for halfback the way offensive line's valued. And I think everybody's got a pretty decent halfback. We saw some trades. People were filling out the halfback position because they don't want to draft them. And here the Steelers go, we'll draft one, and we'll see what happens here with Le'Veon Bell. And now we've got Darden, and it's really going to be up to this guy to prove that he can fill that spot and they can let Le'Veon walk, because that's going to save them roughly $15 million per season for the next 4 to 6 seasons. So I think it's a really good move.
Here's the issue with halfback. I don't know if you feel this way, Lip. We might be on opposite sides here, but the risky play in drafting a halfback is one thing's going to happen somehow or some way or another. They're going to get hurt. And it's like, how early do I want to draft somebody that I'm not going to be able to rely on for a full 16-game season unless I get insanely lucky or I share his carries throughout the year? For me, a first-round draft pick, I just can't go halfback for that reason alone.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened with my team last year. We had Yeldon and Fournette, and people were kind of like, why doesn't Fournette have a lot more carries? Was he hurt? What's going on? Is he not that good? He averaged over 5 yards a carry, but we felt that with the history of Le'Veon Bell being an every down back, always getting hurt, we thought that it would be a good idea to go ahead and really play the 2-down system where you have a legit third down back and you have a power back and a kind of receiving back. And I don't know if that's why the Fournette stayed healthy all season. It's probably not, but in my mind, I can say it is. So I think that that's a decent system moving forward just because of that experience.
I've got the screenshot sent in by Playa of Moses Hood. A lot of people talking about this guy. Let's see what he looks like.
I like the name.
Boom. There we go. Moses Hood. We actually got a call coming in, so we'll talk about Hood in just a second. Let's see who we got on the line. You are on with the MBL Network. Who we got on the line?
Hey, who did the Bills take?
Who did the Bills take? That's a good question.
I don't think that guy knows what he's doing. The Miami Dolphins look good. I like Allen Rose. Not a fan of the Bills.
Well, I think I think the Bills took wide receiver Curtis Sanders with the second pick in the second round. They took wide receiver Ryan Burner in the first round. So a lot of wide receivers going to Buffalo. Sir, is this like a personal bias against the Bills? They went with Morgan Henry, the left tackle, with the number 2 pick in the first round. Is this like a personal bias, or do you really just disagree with how the Bills are being run?
I wasn't sure who they took. Now that you told me, I like the picks. I'm back on the bandwagon with the Bills. Go Buffalo.
All right, go Buffalo. Let's take a look at Moses Hood and see what Mr. Playa, the draft guru of the MBL, thought of Moses Hood. This guy 6'1", 205, 83 overall. Quick dev and number 1 in true talent. Lip, leave it to Play to get the number 1 in true talent at the number 3 overall pick.
I told you, whenever this guy went off and I saw that Hunter was not his pick, I knew that this guy had to be the legit real deal. Ranked number 1 in true value at number 3. That does not surprise me at all. 21 years old, 6'1", 205. This guy's going to be, he's going to be a beast because he plays for Playa and he knows how to develop people. Number 1 talent.
What a sweet name, too. Moses
Absolutely.
Hood. Oh,
Moses
God, that's
Hood.
just nice. Oh, man. 21 years old, Lip, and a scheme fit. His development is just quick, huh? Is that what it means when their arms are crossed?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, the arms across is quick. There's your the stats. They're a little hard to read, but 90 speed, 80 pursuit, 92 speed and acceleration.
What's his agility?
83 man. I don't see agility listed on here. So
it's a secondary attribute.
It's a secondary one. But 83 man coming out. He is going to be going to shore up that passing defense in Green Bay, Bomber, in a division where there's some pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah, in a division where it's a little pass heavy at times. I know the Chicago Bears like the ground and pound it, but they've been known to throw the ball down the field with Mitch Trubisky. I think this is a smart play. Playa has to get aggressive defensively. Now that safety can come down Lip and play some man coverage on the tight end, on the slot receiver. 83, he's got the ability, 90 speed, 92 acceleration, 6'1". He can get it done, 21 years old and a scheme fit. A lot of opportunity to improve some development traits in the future for this kid.
Yeah, and I like the idea of putting that guy in man coverage because if he's quick, which he's clearly extremely quick, he's going to be able to match up against tight ends, and that man coverage is going to play right into that. And he might struggle with some of the bigger guys, but I think he's 6'1", so that shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Let's take a look at the Washington Redskins. 2 picks in the first round at picks number 7 and 14. First, they took this fellow, John Boswell, right tackle, one of the first offensive linemen off the board. 90 strength, 84 run block, 81 pass block. And this guy, Bomber, unlike one of the other offensive linemen we look at, this is a straight power blocker. 82 run block power, 85 pass block power, and 85 impact block. As a right tackle, how important is that impact block stat?
Who took this guy? I'm trying to get him pulled up on my screen.
That's
Redskins. Lil Fish took him?
Redskins. At number 7 overall.
All right, 7th pick overall. It's John Boswell we're talking about?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, they went 2 linemen so far. They got a right tackle and a right guard. Yeah, 90 strength, 84 run block, 81 pass block, 82 run block power. Oh, man, 90 strength. This kid, I would like to know the age on John Boswell. But once again, an 80 overall lineman coming right out the gate, Lip, that surpasses a lot of people that had those fringe 22 to 24-year-olds that were sitting about 79, 78 overall. These are great first-round picks, in my opinion. I think this is going to pay some big dividends right out the bat. Week 1 is going to be a starter.
And let's look at the other player they took at number 14, which is the right guard, Dawson Tuitt. 76 overall. Well, the other thing that's interesting, I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you look on the left side, I got a little bit of analysis. It says Dawson Tuitt is a right guard with strength and impact blocking and strength. 83 strength, 78, 74. So, this is a guy... maybe not as good of a player as you want at number 14, but offensive linemen are at a premium in this particular season. How much does it concern you as a right guard, that 83 strength number? I know some people put a lot of stake in the strength number. This guy is low coming out, but he's got some decent peripheral numbers.
Well, I've had people with very high strength do well with no blocking skills, and I've had the opposite. So It's a tough call. A lot of people, this comes up every draft. Everybody's got a little bit of a different opinion on this. We've had the developers kind of explain it. Everybody's had their own opinion. I'm at guard. I'm not too worried about it as long as he's got good blocking to start. The pass blocking can come up, but the run blocking I like. And what I like for the guards in the run blocking is, as long as he's quick enough and he's got run blocking, he should be fine to be able to pull and make different kind of blocks. So I wouldn't be worried about it, especially whenever you come back with the tackle to go right beside him, man. That's going. If this guy develops right here, if this guy develops, that offensive line is going to be a pretty big nightmare to go against. They're going to be able to have some pass protection and some great run blocking for a long time there in Washington.
Yeah, it should be a guy. The two guys that we develop pretty well out in Washington as we're headed through the second round. We're at pick number 19. Appreciate everybody tuning in to the MBL Season 34 Rookie Draft. I'm OSU. I'm hanging out with the commissioners of the MBL, Bomber and Lip. Bomber, is there anything in this particular draft? I know we've sort of been watching it as we've been discussing. Is there anything that has surprised you, or has this basically gone as you had expected?
For me, it's pretty much gone as expected for the most part. I think one of the little wrench thrown in the live draft was play a passing on the outside linebacker, going with the safety Moses Hood. But it all pays dividends in the win. It was a win-win situation wherever he went. Made more sense. He felt like for him to go safety, you got to trust his gut, because he's been making great picks since we started drafting. When he joined the league, Lip? 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago? It seems like it's been forever. Maybe not forever for him because he's lived forever, so it's not been
got him.
long
He's old
on his. Got him. No, but I mean, that's pretty much the only thing I've seen that's gone wow. I mean, outside of the fact OSU brought up cornerbacks and wide receivers, but I kind of felt that way coming in, that this wasn't going to be cornerbacks, wide receivers like we normally see. I felt it was going to be those non-skill positions we're going to go.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, the offensive line, we've already talked about it, it's kind of flipped around to where there's no corners really going. Wide receiver's not really the hot thing. It's all about the offensive lineman, and that's really what you need, because, like I said, nobody's moving them in trades. They aren't hitting free agency. People are going to pay their linemen. There's no doubt about that. So you've got to find – the only option is to find them in the draft, or after the draft you pick up an undrafted free agent and you develop him. But – the draft is the big thing for us offensive linemen this year, and that's what we're seeing tonight.
Let's take a look at one of the offensive players. We've talked about a lot of linemen. We've talked about some of the safeties that have gone off the board. Let's take a look. We had a little bit of a run on tight ends. Let's go back to the NFC North. Look at the Chicago Bears. And this Bears team, very good last year. They went with tight end Christopher Watt. I have no idea if he's related to JJ or TJ, but I'd like to think he's a distant cousin. This guy, 84 catching traffic, 81 speed, 79 catching, 81 short route, 71 mid. This is a pass catching tight end. Let me give you his vital. He is 6'6", 246, out of Wisconsin, 24 years old, quick dev. Bomber, your initial thoughts on this tight end at 6'6", 246. He's built like a guy, sort of the likes of David Njoku, Rob Gronkowski, big, tall tight ends. Maybe not as flashy athletically, but that certainly can be developed.
Yeah, you see the 81 speed and you immediately think, bust! No, this is a good pick for the Chicago Bears. They needed a tight end. They actually were in free agency. They had their bids on a couple of them. They kind of pulled it off, and I guess at that point they determined, hey, we're going to go tight end in the first round. We're going to take this kid, Christopher Watt, possession catch, tight end, and 66 run block. That's not bad. You get that up. You got an opportunity to improve him. 24 years old is kind of the downfall. I don't like this pick too much because of that. 24 years old, Lip. What are your thoughts on that? You get a 24-year-old. He's got regular development. He's 81 speed. His arms are crossed. You're not getting much special, so not very athletic, not a freak. And my thing is, he's 24. If he was 22, even 23 is like the oldest I like to draft, but 24 just seems a little old for me as far as your prime years.
Yeah, and that wasn't something that I always paid a lot of attention to. I thought if they were a good player, taking an older player would be okay, but I really shifted that this year because I saw a couple of the people that I've drafted in the past at that 24, 25, they just never really were able to develop before the regression started to set in. And as I watched around the league, people who took a little bit lesser of a talent at 21, 22, those guys were actually able to develop the older guys. And I mean, that doesn't sound, that's not a great realization, but it's something that is a lot more important than I think some people pay attention to, myself included. And it's a big part of development is the age. And I actually saw something online the other day. I'm not sure where I saw it, but I saw that at 25, it is the point where it becomes a little more challenging for people to develop. So if you take a 24-year-old, he's only got 1 year before that wall of a little bit less of development. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that is just kind of one of the things that I saw people talking about on the internet. It seems like at 25, they kind of stop really getting the game XP and stuff that younger guys do, that little age boost that you kind of see.
Haven't had a ton of skill players go off the board in the first round, but the Arizona Cardinals took one of them, which was a cornerback. Let's take a look at
Ooh, this guy's
Joey
This
Gordy.
is our bust. This guy's our bust. He's not
he's
good.
He's flexing. 77 overall, 88 speed, 84 Excel bomber. That's a little bit of a red flag
And
per se.
88 agility, Lip. All right, 80. Hey, Lip, I'm not going to tell you anymore. 88 speed, 84 Excel, 88 agility. I know what these guys are going to say. Bomber, it's not all about speed. It is at cornerback. That's all it's pretty much about. If
84 Excel terrifies me at cornerback.
84 Excel with
terrible.
88 agility. I mean, literally, he's going to be going against wide receivers that have him beat in all three. That's a triple threat bet. That is not good. Joey Gordy, enjoy training camp. I hope you can get in some kind of shape and increase that. What's the age on Joey Gordy? Don't tell me he's 24.
I won't tell you that because I don't know.
Well, I guess that's better than telling me it. He's just not good. He's just not good. You're going to say, well, he has 86 zone and 79 man. He has high coverages, but he has a limited athleticism. I'm playing with the guy Tease Tabor, who's 87 speed, 93 Excel, and 92, 93 agility. And he's just slightly too slow for the position. So
this is a guy right
He's
here.
22.
You play cover 2. You stick him in the flat all game because I'm not trusting this guy over the top.
Kind of like I played Vontae that year. I had him when he was
exactly.
like 84 speed.
This is you got to play this guy the same way you play the 33-year-old corner who's got great coverages, but he's got the low speed. This guy looks athletically like he's in his 30s, so I would play him a lot of cover 2 flats on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely agree. OSU, back to you. Joey Gordy, a first official bust of the first round. Way to go, sir.
I was pulling up one of the other screenshots because we had an interesting, I think one of the teams most people would highlight as having a very interesting offseason. The New England Patriots caught a lot of big-name players. No Rob Gronkowski, late cut of Tom Brady. They draft a quarterback in the first round. Let's take a look at him. He's got the double guns going. Looks like Ben Roethlisberger. I'm pretty sure that's just Ben Roethlisberger who put Chuck Thomas on his.
He's a
jersey.
winner.
Who is that? Who is this guy?
Chuck Thomas of the New England Patriots.
Horrible name.
88 throw power.
That is a bad name.
78 deep, 86 mid, 87 short. He looks like Ben Roethlisberger though.
No, he does in the flip. Are you seeing it in the email right now?
Or you can look on the.
I see him. He does look like Big Ben and Big Ben and Chuck Thomas.
It looks like,
but you can tell. Here's how
Big Ben at 35.
But here's what you can tell. You can tell that Chuck Thomas isn't Big Ben because he only has a 68 break sack, and we know that Ben Roethlisberger's break sack's like 105. It's his one good thing. Vitals on Chuck Thomas: 6'5", 213, 21 years old, out of Michigan State.
That's actually a good pick.
Yeah, that's Big Ben.
Hey, superstar dev.
Superstar dev with 89 throw power. They say it can go up 3, right? To 91 at the max. Is that true or no?
Say that again?
It can go up 3, the max.
Correct.
For
Plus or minus
power.
3, yeah.
Okay, so to 91 potentially. He's 21 years old, Lip. I understand the 88 throw power is a concern, but to me the accuracies are great. 87 short, 86 medium, 78 deep. 88 throw power is the issue, but throw under pressure 78, which puts him close to the lowest in the league. That's not a good stat. The average in the league on throw under pressure, take away the top guys that are 95 plus, the average is sitting around 86, which I think is a pretty good estimate of where you're at. This throw under pressure. 78's a little low. He's going to have to get that up, and 88 throw power is not very high, but the accuracies are there. Superstar dev, 21 years old. Chuck Thomas, your name's horrible. Your attributes aren't too bad. Where was he drafted at overall? Do we know?
That's a great question.
I forwarded you the mock draft, though. We could just look at that one. Do we have that mock draft to kind of compare against where people went? I can pull it up here.
I'll pull that bad boy up. I have it somewhere. It was middle of the first round.
That's a pretty good pick. Middle of the first round to get a quarterback like that, Lip. 21 years old.
Patriots drafted him at 22. So end of the first round. 22nd overall, you get that guy. That's pretty good.
And that's not. I mean, that's the position where you have all the control over. Mostly quarterback and halfback. You have 100% control. Wide receiver probably the next most. A little bit less because you're not running the routes for them. But quarterback, you got so much control over. So it's really in your hands to develop them. And with superstar dev, that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Well, you want to know where he was projected to go at? This Chuck Thomas was projected to go. Ninth. To the Denver Broncos, and he fell all the way to 22nd to the New England Patriots.
Wow.
That's a big-time drop. I would like to see Bleacher Report reported on some of these guys that just kind of fell out of love. You see a guy drop out of the top 10, and then he just starts falling and falling and falling. And we even saw Flynn go to the Cincinnati Bengals before him, and Flynn was projected to go 14th to the Minnesota Vikings.
Jamie in the chat says fat QB shouldn't wear number 1. 15 is a fat QB number, but we'll see what number he gets out in New England. One of the positions that people don't talk a whole lot about, especially in the draft, we've seen a lot of busts at this position, is defensive tackle. Let's go to New York and the New York Jets. They went with defensive tackle Ross Milhauser with an extra H before the L. 81 overall, 95 strength with 83 power moving. I'm gonna go to Bomber on this one because I've talked to Bomber a lot.
You're gonna have to tell me who it was again. Then.
Ross Milhauser from the New York Jets.
Horrible. All right, name, Lip, 1 to 10. We got to start rating these names. Chuck Thomas is like a 3.
Nah, dude. If you see this dude's face, Milhauser's the name for this guy.
Yeah, it fits it.
Where is he at on the email? Who is it?
Sklamberg. The Sklamscriber giveaway.
I don't see it on here. Okay, there it is. I'm sorry. It's down a little bit. That's Milhauser all the way, and this is a low quality.
Everything's coming up, Milhauser.
What is this guy? Did this guy take this with his cell phone?
Listen, shush, no.
This has to be taken with the cell phone because
listen,
look how he's.
I will put up a gallery of the pictures I've gotten. I had 2 pictures that were taken portrait style, so they're sideways. I had multiple taken mid animation, so you can't read half the stats. Hasn't been a banner day.
This guy looks good though. This is a good player. Here's a scheme fit.
Yeah, he's a scheme fit. Here's the question though, Bomber, because I've talked about defensive tackles a lot, and what is your view on the value of a defensive tackle compared to maybe a defensive end? Is a defensive tackle a more impact player, or can you just sort of run with whoever at defensive tackle is on
Slade?
I think you can actually run with
Gianni Slade is what I'm talking about.
Gianni Slade got hurt a lot like nose tackles do in real life. I give big credit to EA for that one.
Well, geez, he was 6'7", 420. I can't imagine
he was 500 the majority of his life. He lost weight, Lip. He got into shape at 370.
He got into shape. He came into camp at 695, okay? He got into shape. He was who's the guy? Albert Hainsworth coming into camp.
Okay, I got to know, Sklamberg, you watching this? What do you have your settings on for your pictures? Because this is a very low-grade picture. I mean, we're not really getting the full...
That's an Android. He took that with an Android.
This is not a Milhauser. We're not getting the full effect. No, but D tackles, not really huge on them because they're kind of to eat up blocks. I'm a linebacker D end. I think those guys are the most important. The D end, the pass rushing D ends are very important. D tackles, I think, you can kind of plug and play guys there because I've seen it happen where Slade goes out and then a 74 overall A'Shawn Robinson comes in. And, he's not Slade, but he looks good enough to play into the scheme that you have. So I'm not a big fan of D-tackle, but this is a good D-tackle, 95 strength. I think Slade was right up there. 83 block shedding, 83 power moves. He's got potential to be something here. 22 years old, that's a good age. And most importantly, he's a scheme fit, so he has all that working for him.
I'm sorry, keep talking. I've got to pull up the picture. We got one in the email of what might be the ugliest player I've ever seen.
So, who's it from?
Mr.
Shadow
Rose.
So you have a picture of bananas?
Oh man, this looks like
Dude,
it is bananas.
Androids are terrible. Get out of here.
Here we go.
Get out of here.
this should be screenshots
Quarterback
from the game.
Tyler
Not
Morey, who's got that nose.
Maury sounds like an ugly name.
It's not pretty, folks. 89 short act, 88 throw power, 76 awareness, second round pick for the Tennessee Titans.
Not a bad second round pick. He's only 22 years old and a scheme fit. It's not bad.
Here, I'll put up the picture that's really bad. Because the one that's up there isn't it's actually probably the best angle he's got.
Tyler Morey from Notre Dame University.
There it is.
The Notre Dame.
The Notre Dame.
It's with the arms crossed, and he looks like he got beat up in high school. Like
Oh, that's Bob's FIFA character.
it is. He's in the
Look
game.
at them nostrils. Oh my goodness.
It's not pretty. They were like, fold your arms and look tough, and he was like,
No, he was like, I got quick dev.
got quick.
He got excited, but he left the stone wall face. Yeah, he definitely has a. It kind of looks like Eddie wasn't ready in the grid. He's got the shovel face.
It's not pretty. I'm pulling up somebody else because not only does he have a name that I don't know if Bomber's going to call great or not, but he also has a shovel
Savando?
face. Yeah, Shavando. It's
Savando,
not pretty.
Hey, Rajon Savando, John Stone. Oh, that's
Savando Johnstone with the mutton chops and everything at wide receiver, 95 speed.
You can't have Stone in your name as like Stone hands.
Oh.
That's like Savando
No.
Johnstone.
Oh
John
my goodness.
Say it 5 times fast. Savando Johnstone. Go.
Yeah, no.
No.
OSU, you want to give it a try?
No, Savando
5 times,
Johnstone,
just 5
Savando
times,
Johnstone,
try.
Savando Johnstone, Savando Johnstone. I can't do it. You
Savando
can't do it.
Johnstone.
Savando sounds like a name I would expect to hear in Freak a League by Petey Pablo. I'm not even joking.
Shout out to Savando.
Savando. Please welcome.
Heck of a player. Oh my God.
Please welcome
I'll
newest
tell you
wide
what,
receiver Savando.
When Savando was born, they were like the dad really liked the name Rondo. His favorite basketball player, Rajon Rondo. She's like, what if we drop the R and just add an SV like the Maximo we got?
And they're like,
it's an
honey,
SV.
put down the liquor. We're not putting an SV in the front of his name.
Yeah. Savando.
Hey,
Savando.
because their ancestors were like, our last name is Johnston, and they're like, Johnstone? No, Johnston. Too late. Wrote it down, Johnstone. Like
John Stone.
95 speed
For
though,
a wide
90
receiver,
excel.
I was saying as long as he's definitely got some ability. I just don't like the name Stone in the hands in the name because you're gonna initially think Stone hands.
Oh yeah, it will be called
and that
on
number's
NBL Live.
not gonna hold. Number 13 isn't gonna hold. That's Mike Thomas's number, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to change his number, sadly. Savando Johnstone.
But will the mutton chop stay though? That's the real question.
You don't know, man. Those are inspired by Elvis Presley, and I don't know. Savando, you got a lot of cleaning up to do. Welcome to the MBL.
I'm gonna pull up another screenshot as we're rolling through. We're now in the third round, hustling through this. I'm OSU. I'm hanging out with Bomber and Lip, this is just going through this draft, Bomber. I will say, the new graphics we're seeing, a very nice change of pace from what we saw in the past. I know there's a little bit of an oversight in that you can't see the players who are taken before you, but in terms of visually, it's a much more pleasant screen to look at than that blue screen with just the draft on the left side.
Yeah. So if we were to trade out what we had last year for this year, I would take it every step of the way. But one thing we'll say, and we'll bring this up. You can bring that up in the chat that you're in, OSU. Hey, we'd like to be able to scroll through previous picks to kind of see where other people went for part of that full immersion experience that they're so interested in trying to bring to this franchise mode. And I think from last year to this year, 100% improvement, 100%. I mean, there's no way I would keep what we had last year for this year, even close, especially in this draft situation, because we get to see the overall too of the player, and we get to see the player's face.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Let's go. We got a screenshot here from the team that is being featured on Building the Franchise this year, the Indianapolis Colts. Let's take a look at Rashad Patterson, 73 overall cornerback. And you look at some of the stats here, and as you guys pull it up, 86 speed, 91 excel, 88 agility. So okay physical attributes, 78 man, 82 zone. The part that scares me is this guy coming out of college, and we've talked about the change in play rec and the change in the Mariners. He's got 67 play rec and 65 tackle. So this guy, a little light in the noggin, Bomber, and a little light in the arms to bring guys down, but coverage-wise, not too bad.
Coverage-wise, not bad.
By the way, 59 catching.
But speed is not good. 86 speed for a cornerback. That's just 1-2. I always like to say 87. If you have 90 plus agility and 90 plus acceleration, I can work with 87. That's the Tease Tabor bottom line. 86 speed with 88 agility, 91 excel. Lip, what do you think? Too slow for a corner?
Oh, Draco says, by the way, 74 jumping. Ew.
Yeah, and 74 jumping. So it doesn't even matter if he's 6 foot plus right now. He's just not going to make. This seems like a bust pick. I don't think we'll be talking about him much on Building the Franchise. Indianapolis Colts. And if you missed that first episode, we get to know the Colts, the 11-5 Colts from last year. They're trying to build on that success they had. Go to youtube.com/Madden Bomber League. But Lip, Rashad Peterson, I like the name a lot. Just don't like the game. Not too much.
Yeah, quite a bit different than Patrick Peterson, and like in the most opposite way. The speed at 86, that is, like you said, 87 is like a stretch for me. I mean, 88 seems like my limit, but 86 is just tough. And then, I mean, if his agility was a little bit higher, I'd feel a little bit better about him playing zone, but I'm just very uncomfortable. I think you will be talking about him on Building the Franchise because you will be looking for this pick to do something and be productive, and I just don't think that it's going to happen. But this is a team that didn't have a lot on the roster that made it to the playoffs and was a pretty good team. So maybe they are going to figure out how to use this guy. It's not always about making the corner be the number one lockdown best corner in the game. It's about figuring out what a player does really well and playing them to be in the best positions. And maybe that's something that they can do because they've already done it. The Colts have done that with that roster. So there is hope. This is one franchise. There is hope for a guy like this to me.
Let me point out what I think is the most comedic part about this guy is we talked about Bomber 86 speed, not very good for a cornerback. 74 jumping, not very good for a cornerback. 67 play rec, not very good for a cornerback, but he does have aggressive play ball tendency, so he's going to be diving for balls. He is nowhere near. He's going to be jumping for balls. Guys got him beat by 5 yards, and he's going to be diving for that football trying to pick it off.
Yeah, maybe he's definitely going to be what we like to call overly aggressive because he's out of position likely. Concerns all the way across the board. I don't think Rashad Patterson is that's the number 2 bust of the day. I don't think he's going to get much time on the field, if any, and I don't think he's going to be in the league in a couple seasons.
We'll give a little bit of credit. That was a second-round pick. So you'd like to get something a little better than that in the second round, but wasn't too bad. As we're winding down here on the season 34 MBL Rookie Draft Show here on the MBL Network, make sure you hit that follow button so you know each and every time we go live. Bomber, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up this year. Talk a little bit about Building the Franchise for people who maybe haven't joined us before, and some of the other shows that you'll see here on the MBL Network.
All right, so tomorrow night, first and foremost, Commissioner Corner podcast, we're going to break down those transactions that occurred in the offseason, those cuts. What? The cuts? Yeah, those crazy cuts that happened throughout the offseason that allowed players like Derrick Henry, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, all to find new homes, and plus some crazy trades we got going on in the NBL. We're going to break down this draft as well, but I promise we won't be talking Rashad Patterson. He's not going to be on the format, but that's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Madden Bomber League. And Building the Franchise, every weekend, we'll have an Indianapolis Colts episode, which we'll have an episode, and we'll kind of set you up, and then we'll go right into a game live on that channel. So stay tuned to youtube.com/Madden Bomber League to know more information about that. Also on this channel, during bonus coverage, we'll be following along Indianapolis Colts games that happen throughout the week, Monday through Friday. So make sure you're just following here as well. So that's the things we got up and coming, but tomorrow night's going to be a big show, Lip. You excited about that show tomorrow, Commissioner Corner podcast?
Yeah, I think, and the big thing is there's a lot of elements to it. Like you said, we're going to be talking about the cuts. There was a lot of cuts, and there was a lot of trades, and there's a lot of drafting tonight. There's just so many elements to this. It's the new season. There's new hype, new hope. Going to be a lot to talk about, and there's going to be a lot of players to talk about, a lot of teams to talk about. We're going to cover so much of it. And it's going to be a lot of a lot of different topics. So make sure that you come out, suggest the topics, call into the show. Tell me who's going to be a bust. Tell me who's going to be a star. It's going to be exciting.
Again, folks, hit that follow button. That's where, here on the Twitch channel, we will have all of our live games, including bonus coverage, which you saw earlier today. We'll have MBL Live coming up in the next couple of days as we get Season 34 underway. All of our live content here on twitch.tv/MBL Network, and then our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MaddenBomberly, where you can find all of our MBL original programming and archives of our MBL Live games. Let's get back to the screenshot. Show one more before we wrap this bad boy up. Let's take a look at a pretty good name. We're going to go to Cincinnati. Look at the middle linebacker they took in the first round, Shaquille Olson. Listen, that's a very interesting first name to go with a very boring last name. Middle linebacker, 75 overall, 83 speed, 81 excel. At middle linebacker, Bombers, you're looking at a guy who is sort of the leader of the defense, the guy who's going to be in the center making the most plays. You'd like to see a little more in the speed and acceleration category, but at 86 tackle, this is going to be a guy with 82 block shed who they're going to be able to send on some blitzes up the middle and leave their outside linebackers to deal with the wide receivers.
So you take the name Charles, you take the name of NyQuil, put it together, you got Shaquille Olson. That's a 10 out of 10 for a middle linebacker.
Perfect name here, folks. We're done.
But he's not that good, sadly. 83 speed, 81 acceleration. I don't see his agility. I assume it's lower than the 81 Excel. That's why it's in the secondary attribute right now. Hit power 80. A lot of work to be here. I don't know about this guy. 75 overall, definitely playable, and we'll see what he'll become. And that's a good screenshot, though. A very, very clear 1080 screenshot from Eric G. Shout out to him.
So maybe not a 10 out of 10 player, but a 10 out of 10 name and a 10 out of 10 screenshot. Really, a lot.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to pull it up for me. That's why I say, and he's probably a day one starter. You got to see what he can do. He's got a good look, too.
He's got a good look. As we are winding down in round 3 and winding down our coverage, let's just put a bow on this bad boy. I'll start with you, Bomber. Tell me what one thing maybe you were most surprised about last season, first season of the cycle, and one thing you're looking most forward to in the upcoming season.
All right, so this season, I'm looking forward to seeing how people deal with the progression of the players from last year, if they really improve statistically. More importantly, I'm looking at the MVP, Baker Mayfield. What more can he do? Are we going to see that growth in his game that we know is there, attributes it's there? Are we going to, or is he just going to plateau as a 4,800 yard passer with an insanely high QBR? I mean, how much better can he get? I mean, we asked the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger at one point, and he just continued to get better and better and better. Is that going to be the same thing we see with a very young sophomore season? Who's going to have the sophomore slump? Which rookie's going to come out that played well season 1 as a rookie, MBL season 33, and then season 34 they come off and they just kind of fall off? I want to see who's going to regress, who's going to progress as a team, not necessarily as individual players always, but as teams. So we see teams on the cusp. For example, the Bengals finished the season really hot. Are they going to continue to ride that momentum that they didn't have early on? I mean, they were 0-4 in the preseason. They started the season off 1-4. They battled back, made the playoffs. Are they going to continue playing that brand of football they had towards the end of the year, or are they going to fall back and revert back to what they were when we started? So I'm interested to see the growth and decline in the MBL. That's most importantly what I'm looking forward to seeing so far.
Lip, same question to you, although we just had a pick from the Indianapolis Colts. His name is Ramorius Wheatley, which is just a beautiful name. Lip, the thing that surprised you from last season and what you're looking forward to here in season 34?
I already talked about it. The thing that surprised me the most, and it showed, was the Colts. And for months, people talked about how the Colts were the worst roster, and it was going to be a long rebuild, a long time to get to the playoffs. They come out and they do it. Season 1 of the cycle, very impressive. I can't talk about it enough. And the thing that I'm most looking forward to is I really liked the New York Giants roster, and they were able to fight back and finish the season at 8-8 last year. They had a top 10 defense in points, so I think if they get a full season, that ownership gets full season under their belt, the Giants are going to be competing in the NFC playoffs, and I'm really excited to watch.
And we lost him.
That was weird. I was so excited about it.
Did you lose me?
He was rocking.
Hey, there you are. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, we lost you.
You were rolling.
What happened?
Right at the end. Just right at the end.
Just stop, dude.
You got caught by the sensors for saying something.
Dude, do you have like some kind of like blood pressure machine connected to your computer? You get a little too excited, dude. It just shuts you off.
Blood pressure machine.
And it just shuts you off and just kind of say, hey, you got to cool down, bro. You're getting heated. The computer can get overheated, but you can't. That's basically so. Continue on. You cut off about 15 seconds ago.
Anyway, we talked about the Colts, but the Giants, I'm excited to see how they play out. Top 10 in points allowed. They fought back to finish 8-8 last season. I'm excited to watch them play the Cowboys twice this season. I think that's going to be a playoff team for many seasons to come, the New York Giants. So I'm very excited to watch that next season.
You guys got any, just quickly, any teams that you're looking at to make a surprise run like the Indianapolis Colts did last year?
All right, let me pull up Daddy Leagues real quick. I want to take a look. Hey, if you're hosting a league, you got a league, and you don't have Daddy Leagues, what are you doing? Head over there right now, affordable price, daddyleagues.com. Also, our graphic sponsor, web3ks.com. They got a subscription-based membership coming up very, very soon. We've been working with them, helping them out, get all the troubleshooting done, but it'll be a low, affordable monthly rate to get access to some graphics, man. Definitely want to check it out, web3ks.com. More information coming soon. Team to break out right now that I'm looking at that might be the breakout team. Got to be them Carolina Panthers for me. I feel like Porter's
got really good last year. Yeah,
it's got to be the Panthers.
No, it's a firm no.
No. Hey, your mic's gonna cut out again. You better relax.
Settle down over there.
So why not the Panthers?
They're just not buttoned up. Okay. We'll go back to the play against the Cowboys. They had the opportunity. They're not buttoned up. I just can't believe in them. Actually,
but they got Cam.
Before you said that, I was going to go with the Panthers as well, but I wanted to give Porter a little bit of a hard time to start out. But I think that that's a real team, man. I think that they can get somewhere. They were 8-8 this season. A lot of adjustments gonna be made. They've added some people here this offseason. I think that that's a real team to make it into the playoffs next year for sure.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, he was mad. He took his choice.
Okay, that's what it was.
Bogart his pick.
Okay.
Well, a fun night here on the MBL Network. As always, folks, appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you hit that follow button so you know each and every time we go live here on the network. Make sure you go hit the follow button over on YouTube, youtube.com/Madden Bomber League. We are going to get out of here. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. We got a little Monday action here. MBL Live. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bomber League at MBL Network. MBL Live. The game matchups will be announced on Twitter. First game we'll be looking into this week, so you don't want to miss out on that one. For my co-host Bomber and Lip, I'm Oishi. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in to the MBL Season 34 Rookie Draft. We hope we will see you throughout the year right here on the MBL Network.
Welcome to the MBL Rookie Draft. Today we'll see teams select franchise players who will forever change the culture of the team while having immediate success. While some teams will weigh risk versus reward, banking on a player's potential to develop. Some players will go on to be champions, Hall of Famers. Even though they were drafted in later rounds, their success won't be denied. You are witnessing the leader in full immersion gaming, the Madden Bomber League. So join our journey today. Go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com and take your chance to become a legend and forever be remembered like Lucky Jordan, Asa Sherrard, because legends never die. And you're watching the MBL Network.